What's going on, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday, February 14th. DK Show up on the air, your radio dials. We got a couple of those 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa home devices also rolling here this morning. The app, stream it up at the website there too. Video stream also rolling, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us a part of your start here this morning. If you're already up and at it on early morning here, what do we got on the good old game plan for us? Hey, Badgers ended their skid last night, picking up a 62-54 victory against Ohio State. Although second half, maybe getting a little bit nerve wracking, just a skosh there after Wisconsin entering halftime with a 13-point lead. Ohio State chipped away at it, but nonetheless, thanks to performances from Stephen Krall and Stephen Krall and AJ Storr. Chucky Hepburn hit a dagger three there towards the end, but Krall and Storr with doubles last night to help lead the Badgers to a much needed victory. Good to see Stephen Krall kind of go back to what he was before this 4-game losing streak, a guy that really looked like he was maybe losing some confidence on the offensive side, but picking up 16 points and 10 rebounds for him. Storr also 14 points, 12 rebounds. Tyler Wall contributed 10. You had Chucky with 9 points, 7 assists, though, 7 dimes. Still not a ton of production off the bench, practically nothing besides 5 points from Winter for the Badgers. Connor just playing 10 minutes. Connor Esigian playing 10 minutes off the bench and only shooting the ball once. So a very, very, very short bench last night for Greg Gard. No Blackwell, the freshman. No McGee and such. So a little bit of shortage in available players and such, but could tell maybe Wisconsin really wanted to get this victory and end this 4-game losing streak, putting it on the shoulders of their main players, of their starters. Next up is going to be a game at Iowa coming up in 3 days on the 17th there, as the Badgers now just have 6 games left in this regular season. 6 games to maybe get a little bit of a flow, get a little bit of momentum going in before the conference tournaments coming up here right now. In terms of the Big Ten standings, the Badgers in sole possession of third place as of now, because Northwestern is just a half game behind them, but Wisconsin a half game also behind Illinois for that second spot in the conference. If you're kind of looking at maybe some seedings for the Big Ten conference tournament coming up here, if you're going to be doing a little scoreboard watching here, you look at Illinois' schedule. They've got at Maryland, at Penn State, home against Iowa, home against Minnesota. Then they visit Wisconsin, home against Purdue, finish up at Iowa. So, speaking of college hoops, Marquette also picking up another victory last night, squeaking out a victory against Butler, 78-72. Had another upset, North Carolina falling to Syracuse. Number 7, North Carolina falling to Syracuse. Number 21, Virginia falling to Pitt. Indiana State's climbing up in the rankings to number 23, but they fell last night. Had Baylor, number 12, defeating number 25, Oklahoma. And but that, had a couple more last night too. You had some crazy last second shots. Vandy, did anybody see that Vanderbilt last second shot? Man, that was pretty sweet. So they took down Texas A&M last night. So we'll talk some college hoops. Bucks, however, though, couldn't extend their 2-game winning streak to 3 as they fell to the Miami Heat last night, 123-97. Miami jumped out to an early 40-28 lead after the first quarter, and the Bucks just couldn't. It was like after they were down 12, they couldn't really close that gap. They couldn't jump into it. Miami outscored the Bucks in every quarter of the game last night. They just couldn't rebound from that, even without Jimmy Butler in the game. Miami shot 47.5% from three, 51.7 overall from the field. Bucks just shooting 33% from three, and Scotia under 45% overall from the field. He had Giannis 23 points, 11 rebounds, another double-double for him. Damian had 16, Malik Beasley 16. Bobby Portis coming off the bench with 16 points there, but Bucks just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. One more game left for the Bucks before the All-Star break. They've got Memphis coming up on Thursday on the road. Timberwolves, though, they picked up another win last night against the Portland Trailblazers. So we'll throw some hoops chat into this equation. We'll get to that. We've got another business of sports coming up here. We'll get to that at about 8:05. Brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We'll hit that up. What else do we got on the docket? Oh yeah, I put this up on our Facebook group page. If you're not a member of the Facebook group page, look it up, Man Cave Conversations. But thanks to those of you who kind of chimed in here. Just kind of a fun little topic here, okay? Just to change it up. But today is Valentine's Day for anybody who celebrates Valentine's Day. Put a little sports spin on this thing. Maybe when you were younger, probably more so when you were younger, because I mean, not to say that you're not, you don't have favorite athletes when you're adults or anything like that, but I threw out two questions to you on the to the Facebook group page, with it being Valentine's Day today. One, the athlete you had the biggest crush on, maybe when you were a kid, because I mean, come on, when we're younger, when we're kids, we have our favorite athletes. We grow up to, those are our guys or girls. Those are kind of our, who we want to be when we grow up, or maybe we try to emulate them, whether it's on the basketball court, you're trying to emulate their shots, or batting stance and baseball and such. So who was that athlete that maybe you had the biggest crush on, biggest fan of, huge fan of? And the second part, so we're talking about the good stuff, but the second part, who is the athlete or the team that just crushed your heart, broke your heart into a million pieces? Who was that? So for mine, I answered on there, and it was kind of fitting too, because last night, my first big time sports athlete quote crush was Shaq. And last night, he got his number retired by the Orlando Magic, the first number in Orlando Magic history to be retired. And they had some of his teammates, some of the old Orlando Magic on the court. Penny even had a nice blazer on. Inside the blazer was pictures of him and Shaq from their playing days with the Magic. Oh, what a trip down memory lane. Shaq, though, Penny, Dion were my first, quote, crushes. Then it kind of went into Favre and White and that. And the team, I mean, there's a few of them. And we'll get to a bigger list here, but it's that 2015 Badger basketball team. That still kind of hurts me a little bit. But thank you to those of you who responded. We got a few of them on here. We'll go to that coming up here in just a little bit. But to give you some time, if you didn't chime in on the Facebook group page, you can hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912 with a quick text if you don't want to chime in on the Facebook group page over there. But you should join up. You should join up if you're not a member over there already. So, all right, let's get things going. Got a few of you already text in on that. All right, let's have some fun here this morning, shall we? So let's talk some hoops. We'll get to that. We got plenty of hoops chat to catch up on with the Bucks, with the Badgers, Marquette, and such, as we inch a little bit closer and closer to the finale of the college basketball season. Hey, speaking of which, too, with talking about wrapping up regular seasons or beginning postseasons here, shout out to I don't know if Surveyor Sam's listening right now, but shout out to Menominee Wrestling. Advanced to Team State for the first time in school history. So well done there. St. Croix Falls also going on. They beat my Medford. They beat my Medford and Cumberland also advancing as state. Memorial Hockey, they picked up a 9-0 victory over the Northwest Icemen last night to begin their playoff run. Eau Claire North falling to DC Everest 3-2. So, but we got some postseason high school action also going on here. So let's get it going though. Take our first break and then we'll jump into it right away this morning. Plenty of hoops talk, but who's your biggest crushes? Let's have a little fun. Let's have a little fun conversation coming up here. All right. That's what sports is supposed to be, right? A little fun here. Take a quick break. We'll be back in just a little bit. Sometimes you just need a little me time, and what makes your me time better is a great cup of coffee in a relaxing, cozy environment. That's exactly what you will get when you visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Why settle for low quality coffee for your me time when you have a freshly roasted brew with many different flavor options located right in your own backyard? Hey, need a quick bite to eat during that me time? Cabin Coffee has you covered as well with a menu filled with breakfast, lunch, and bakery items. Having a good cup of coffee just instantly puts us in a good mood. That is, if you get your coffee from Cabin Coffee. So take a little me time and visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona, located in the River Prairie area, and experience what quality coffee really is. And if you need a quick last second Valentine's Day gifts for those who celebrate, nothing better than a good old gift card. And you can get that gift card at Cabin Coffee in Altoona, or maybe grab a mug with our good buddy Joe Grabowski's face right on there, beautiful face on there, right? So, but no, if you need a last second Valentine's Day gift card, go grab a gift card from Cabin Coffee in Altoona. All right, quite a few of you already chiming in on this Valentine's Day two-part question. Kind of having a little fun with this, right? Just changing it up a bit. We know the football season's over with, and basketball, Bucks, we got that all going on. Pitchers and catchers for the for the excuse me, for the Brewers will report tomorrow. Some teams reporting today, so we're getting closer to the start of baseball season. At least some spring training games and such, but just to kind of have a little fun here this morning with Valentine's Day, or maybe not so fun for a lot of people because it conjures up some bad memories. Threw in a couple questions out there. Who was your, or who is, I guess if it's still currently, but who was your biggest crush athlete wise? Now, kind of mostly looking for like, okay, fan wise, but I guess if you had some really strong personal feelings towards somebody, I mean that maybe crush in a different way, that's fine too. If you know what I'm getting at there. But the athlete that you had the biggest crush on, and number two, the team or the player that broke your heart. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite team. It could be maybe your biggest rival broke the heart of your favorite team, or something like that. And hey, maybe it's from your playing days. All right. Kind of open ended over there. Kind of open ended. So let's go through some of the picks so far. Steve went with Chris Everett and then the 82 Brewers. Jake Barry Sanders, Roger Federer being a distant second. Then he said number two, 49ers, no explanation needed. 2019 Wimbledon, knowing it was likely one of the last chances to win another Grand Slam title. Federer had 2 match points, but Djokovic fought him off and won. Chris went with Nolan Ryan and then the 82 Brewers. Brett, Derek Rose, and Brett Favre, number two. Got to agree with you, 2015 Badger Hoops. I was completely deflated after that loss. And then the 08 and 15 NFC Championship games for Green Bay. I cried after the 08 loss. I was heartbroken. We got Tiger Woods, the late 90s were the best. 2007 Packers. Must be the 07-08 championship game there. Surveyor saying biggest crush easily Tiger Woods. Got a couple Tiger Woods ones over there. All right. Couple broken hearts. The 2015 Badger basketball, 2014 Packers, and any Badger football team from the 2010s. Also, way to go, Stangs. Congrats on making it to states. So I kind of figured if we did it like the biggest heartbreak in Wisconsin sports, I figured that 15 Badgers team would be on there, that Badger basketball team. Obviously, the NFC Championship game against Seattle is going to be on there. Got a few picks there with that Giants NFC Championship game as well. Don't have any yet. I don't know if it's still kind of recent or such about the one NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay. Maybe it was. I mean, I know why a lot of people are picking that Seahawks one. I understand that, but what if we kind of? I'm surprised nobody has said this yet. But like, what about did Favre break your? Like, what is in your opinion, the biggest heartbreak in Wisconsin sports history, it doesn't necessarily have to be a game. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be a loss or anything like that. But like, what would be the biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak? I would still put that national championship game against Duke in there. Do you put Favre going to the Vikings on there? Or the whole '08 summer? I mean, I feel like the Jets one, it was like when he went to the Jets, is like, okay, whatever, disappointed maybe for some that they still wanted him back in Green Bay and such. But I feel like as soon as he went to Minnesota the following year, I mean, then that completely changed the whole picture. I feel like that would have to be up there in terms of, heartbreak. That's again, it's not a team that lost a big game or anything like that, but that was a heartbreak to see Favre wearing purple, wasn't it? So, I'm trying to think of some other ones. I mean, obviously the champ. For me, I still put Super Bowl 32 on there. I know we haven't really gotten any of those picks there, and I was what grade was I in? Six. I was in sixth grade? Was it sixth grade? I can't remember. But Super Bowl 32, going in, thinking, hey, going to be back-to-backs, heavy favorites, and falling to the Denver Broncos. That was a heartbreak for me. I was really down after that one. I was really down. So I'm surprised that one doesn't get more picks over there, considering how big of an upset it was when you look at it, when you look back at it. So, yeah. What are some other, one heartbreak? It was kind of almost a moment. I mean, if we just want to go plays, I mean, you could go Fail Mary with Seattle and heartbreak plays and such. But one like deflating moment I remember was Game 7 of the NLCS against the Dodgers in 2018. Was that Bellinger that made that catch in center field, where it just felt like it sucked out the complete energy. I was watching on TV, and you could just feel like it completely sucked out all the energy, the little momentum there. I think that was a Yelich hit, wasn't it? Looked like it was going to be extra bases and such, and kind of getting everything going there, and it just like after that catch. Oh, it was bad. It just kind of felt like, okay, after that, it probably wasn't going to happen. But ugh. What about, is there any like heartbreaking trades? I mean, maybe it is far to the Jets, but any like heartbreaking moments like that? I mean, maybe if we got any Minnesota fans, or I mean, maybe just hockey in a sense. When the North Stars left, that's got to be pretty heartbreaking from when I've talked to former Stars fans or hockey fans in the state of Minnesota and such. That's definitely got to be up there in terms of some heartbreaking stuff. So there's a few, but what do you think if we had to put the number one most heartbreaking Wisconsin sports story? What would it be? Would it be Favre playing for the Vikings? Would it be the 2015 Badger basketball team? Something else? 82 World Series, maybe for some of our listeners who were around for that. I wasn't around, so I probably can't talk too much on it. But obviously, when you look at the history of the Brewers, no doubt about it. Maybe it was when the Braves left. If you want to go back a little bit further, can go back a little bit further on that thing. What was it? What do you think? Your personal thoughts, your personal feelings. The number one, if we had to put the number one most heartbreaking Wisconsin sports story out there, it would be fill in the blank. But yeah, we got a few more people kind of coming in. A lot of Packer picks for crushes and such. A lot of Packer picks going in there. We got some Whites, we've got some Favres and such. Got a Bart Star on there too. And I think a lot too would probably depend on your age and maybe the era you grew up in when you were younger and such. I was late 80s, 90s kid. Well, born in the 80s, but really getting into it in the 90s and such. So, but Shaq was my first favorite athlete that I was like all into, like with the posters and the action figures and collecting cards and all that. Shaq was my guy right away. So that would be my first crush. Although then little Dan was heartbroken because I had a Shaq themed birthday party, and the next day is when he went to the Lakers. So wasn't too happy about that one, but that was a little bit of a personal sports heartbreak there too. So, but yeah, Shaq, Penny, Dion in grade school. Then it kind of a little bit later on, about fifth grade, went to White. College, I feel like me and my roommates, we just had this big old crush on Favre. I remember we had an 8x10 photo of Favre smiling outside of our bathroom door for whatever. I think I was the one who put it up there too. No idea why, but it was just there. Like we had a huge crush on Favre. I feel like when I got older, like in the college years, that crush on Favre kind of grew there too. Tiger was one of the most interesting to hear a few of you say Tiger Woods on there. Tiger was probably one of the most influential athletes for me growing up. But I mean, I remember in high school, I had a Tiger Woods bobblehead in my locker and all that. I don't know why. Again, sometimes I did some stupid stuff, but it. I don't know if I had a major crush on him. Maybe. I mean, I did wear the red polo and such, but I don't know if I'd say crush. I don't know if I'd say crush on him. I don't know if I could go that way. But definitely in terms of games, somebody was talking to me about it last time. I was talking to a buddy about this, and he was really surprised that I had the 15 Badgers on there because he went with that NFC Championship game with Seattle. And he said, for the Badger one, he could still watch that game, but Seattle one, he just can't. And it's kind of the opposite for me. Like, I can't. Every time I bring up that 15 Badger basketball game against Duke, I just get in a sour mood and conjuring up memories. And I really loved that team. Like that Frank the Tank and Decker and Bronson and Nigel Hayes and Gosser and, you know, just and having fun. Those guys were having fun with the whole process throughout the tournament. It was kind of a 2-year run there too when you want to, first year Final Four losing to Kentucky. You got Ben Brust on there as well. But, you had the whole Nigel Hayes with the stenographer thing. You had them, it was just a fun group to really enjoy. Oh, Ryan mixed in there too. And the fact that it was Duke and it looked like, okay, maybe Wisconsin's going to do this thing. They beat Kentucky in the Final Four and 15, the undefeated Kentucky team. Probably the only time, I think a lot of us at that time thought and maybe still believe it's the only time Wisconsin basketball may get to a national championship. And they got there and it's against Duke of all teams. And it looked like they were going to do it. But then it's like, sure felt like, not to make excuses or anything like that, but it sure felt like game was called a little bit differently there in the second half. Calls should have been made. And it felt so close, and it felt like that was the only shot. And that's the only game. Like usually give me a little bit and I'm good after a loss. That's the only one I remember where the next day too, I just didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just like, no, I'm still down on it. Because I think I felt the same for a lot of Badger fans out there that this is the only shot. This was the only shot at getting a championship in basketball. I still kind of feel that way at this point in time. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. But with everything going on in the world of college sports and NILs and transfer portals and all that stuff, I mean, with college basketball this year, with how many upsets, maybe it evens out the playing field a little bit. But man, I still kind of feel like that might have been our only shot. I really hope I'm wrong. At least in my lifetime, I really, really hope I'm wrong. But man, that one hurt. We got Jake from State Farm. Either the uh, Packers FC Championship game or the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Either way, both devastating. I wouldn't expect anything else from Jake from State Farm. We've got one of my biggest heartbreaks. This is from Dustin. Is 4th and 26. Yep, I remember watching that one. I was in the basement of our house. Had a rug over it, but concrete floor, and watching that and that play, and I punched the floor. Man, I was kind of an idiot when I was a kid. We got another text here. Here we go. I agree with most of your biggest heartbreaks in Wisconsin sports history. Haven't heard anybody say Mike Holmgren leaving to Seattle. I remember that. I almost feel like that maybe we were set up for that possibility, like it was going to happen. So maybe we kind of went through the grieving period beforehand. So when it actually did happen, it was a bummer. But at the same time, it was like I think we were almost me personally, you kind of mentally preparing yourself for it a little bit. So when it actually happened, I was like, oh, yeah, it stinks, but we kind of knew it was happening because we kept hearing, stuff coming up that was going to happen. So, we got biggest heartbreak. Biggest heartbreak is Favre going to the Vikings. Okay, throwing out the biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak. That's from Surveyor. Chuck Liddell for Living a Dream. Jeff for biggest crush, and Packers losing to the. Oh, we gotta do it. We do have a Packers losing to the Broncos in Super Bowl 32. All right, I know I can count on you, Living a Dream, Jeff. Tony Mandrich over. Tony Mandrich picked over Barry Sanders. We've got a real gut punch was the day. Oh, here we go. Real gut punch. It took forever to load up there. I apologize. Real gut punch was the day Ron Wolf announced the hiring of Ray Rhodes as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Keep them coming. We got some good ones here, so keep these on coming. All right. Hit us up with a text 715-830-1912. Drew, my crush would be Freddie Freeman. Dude's always been so humble in his interviews, and something about his face just says, I'm a decent human being. My number one heartbreak would be watching that ball go into Yelich's knee and completely changing his play. Good one. That's Drew from Eau Claire. We got some good ones. What do you think is the biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak? If you had to pick one, doesn't have to be a game. Could be, is it Favre suiting up for the team across the border? Something else. Something else out there. 82 World Series for the Brewers, maybe. Maybe for some of our older listeners, maybe it was when, if intern was in, maybe it was when the Braves left for Atlanta. What do you think is the number one Wisconsin sports heartbreak story? We got some good ones. Keep your personal ones coming too. Your biggest crush and your own personal sports heartbreak. Let us know. We'll be back in just a few minutes. It's tax season, so while you may be a little frustrated trying to track down your W-2s and whether you're going to file them yourself or you got someone to do it for you, think about the light at the end of the tunnel, baby. The return, that tax return, some extra coin in your pocket. Now, what should you do with that extra cash that's burning a hole in your pocket? How about finally changing out that old ratty carpet in your home and getting some new luxurious carpet or vinyl planks from Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire? Whatever style of flooring you're looking for, or hey, maybe you're not sure what style you want, the team at Carpet City Flooring Center, they're ready to help you find that perfect new floor for your space. So what are you waiting for, people? Once you get your taxes done, go visit Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue and chat with one of their awesome team members. They'll help you so you finally get that new floor in your home that you have been wanting for a while. And all at the best price in town because they will match or beat the competition. And, you know, with Valentine's Day here too, jewelry is overrated. Hit up Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Grab that new floor for that special Valentine's Day in your life. And then you can say, you know, he went to Carpet City Flooring Center or she went to Carpet City Flooring Center. You know what I'm getting at there. So, all right. We got a few more messages with the biggest heartbreak in sports, Wisconsin sports history. James on the video stream saying, my biggest heartbreak was when the Bucks traded Ray Allen for Gary Payton. I stopped watching NBA basketball. Only reason I came back was for Giannis. I remember coming home from school that day. One of my things when I would always get home from school in like grade school and middle school or whatever we want to call it these days, first thing I would do when we finally got a computer, I'd go to sports.yahoo.com. That was like the first thing I would do. And that's how I still remember that day finding that out. First thing popped up right there. Ray Allen traded from the Bucks. Gary Payton coming in. Still remember that one. James also saying the biggest state sports heartbreak would be Braves leaving Milwaukee. My mom equates it to the Baltimore Colts leaving in the dead of the night. Still cries talking about it. Brian saying 4th and 26 or up 16 with 4 minutes to go. Remember those losses like yesterday. We'll never forget. So just joining us, we kind of threw a couple questions out at you. Just changing it up here a little bit. Changing things up here a bit. What is your, or who was the athlete that you had the biggest crush on? Probably when you were younger. You know, when we're kids, when we're younger, we kind of grow up to emulate our favorite athletes and such. So whose poster did you have on the wall? You can admit it. Whose posters did you have up on the wall? Okay. I had a few. I had a Favre. I had a Shaq. I had a Penny. I had a Tiger one other. I had a Dion one. I could still remember them like they were yesterday. Dion one when he was even wearing his Cowboys uniform. Wasn't even a 49ers one. But who was your biggest crush? Okay. And the team or the player that broke your heart. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite team losing. It could be, you know what? Maybe it was those Cowboys teams from the 90s, if you were a Packers fan. You know, broke your heart in an NFC Championship game. Or maybe it was the Rice fumble in that divisional game. Something like that. And I guess the third question we're kind of throwing out there, too, is what do you think is the biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak story out there? Is it Favre playing for the Vikings? Is it the Braves leaving Milwaukee? Is it those NFC Championship games? Was it Super Bowl 32? You know, a couple of you mentioned the 07-08 NFC Championship game. And I was at that game. And I'd bought tickets for that game right after the Giants beat the Cowboys on Sunday in the divisional round. Saturday, we were tailgating. I didn't have tickets for the game, but a bunch of us went over for the game against Seattle. Snow globe game, if anybody remembers that. And we just tailgated in the parking lot, tailgated in the Kmart parking lot. Had a blast. It was awesome. And I remember saying, okay, if the Cowboys lose, I'm going to the NFC Championship game. It's going to be expensive. Hopefully my nobody from the university is listening, but use a little financial aid money to get a ticket. So when Sunday, when the Giants beat the Cowboys, went online, I think it was even called, the website was called TitletownTickets.com. It was like Fuzzy Thurston's website, or Fuzzy Thurston was attached to it. Got my ticket. Cold as heck, as we know. But I thought, okay, I'm going to witness the Packers on their home field win an NFC Championship game and go to the Super Bowl. I had that in my mind. I was dead set that was happening. It's why I wanted to go. It's why I was willing to spend a little extra coin on that ticket, because I was like, yeah, it's going to happen. And when it didn't, that is the quietest. And I was at the top of the stadium. So, like, before the news section was in, you had like the yellow gate up top. I was in the first row of that yellow gate, but there was only like 5, 6, 7, 10 rows behind you. So I had to walk all the way down. That was the quietest I have ever heard Lambeau after a game. The quietest of all the people, like, crunched in, squished in together. That was you could hear a pin drop between all the snow pants swishing back and forth. Nobody was talking. And it didn't dawn on me until I got back to the car. First of all, I was just hoping the car would start. But it didn't dawn on me until I got to the car. I was like, oh, crap. That could have been Favre's last game. Like, that wasn't the first day. It was just like complete shock. Like, that for me, just from a personal one. And I remember saying afterwards, like, I ain't watching the Super Bowl. Not watching. I told my roommates, I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I would not watch ESPN those 2 weeks. I was trying to avoid as much as possible from sports, because I didn't want to be reminded of it. I was so upset. Didn't want to. Still ended up watching the Super Bowl because, I mean, come on, you still do. But it was like, that one hurt too, just on a personal one. I had it so set up in my head that it was going to happen. It was gonna happen. So, Sean from Eau Claire, morning, Dan. Any guy who grew up in the late '90s will have to admit the crush was Anna Kournikova. So you're going with that route with the crush there. She is 20 years later and still gorgeous. So, yeah, you can either go with if you had other feelings, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at? Other feelings that way. You can go there. But, crush in terms of maybe who you were a biggest fan of. So, I'm trying to think who would have been my crush from an athlete when I was a kid. Anna Kournikova is a good one. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other ones over there. Would have been tennis, probably the big one, right? If we grew up in the same era, had to have been tennis. To think about that one. All right, keep yours coming. Hit us up with a text. 715-830-1912. C-Bomb saying sports crush was Tiger, and that 2000 NFC Championship. Was it the 2000 or 2008? I'm assuming NFC Championship tore my heart out. A couple more texts. The biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak definitely is seeing Favre wearing the purple. I was at both games when he returned to Lambeau. Never felt so much hate towards a person. I was at his final game at Lambeau when he was with the Vikings, and yeah, that was a weird, tense environment. Tense from the beginning and all the way to the end. You could just feel the displeasure towards him. Oh, like you can't really describe it. You had to like almost feel it. And you could just feel like that whole game was so tense from beginning to end. It was a weird feeling. It was kind of a weird feeling for that one. Biggest heartbreak 2015 Badger basketball. Joe on our good friend Joey D on Twitter. Where'd it go? There we go. Given the nature of the sport, the team, etc., it has to be Badger hoops in 15. They had Hayes and Decker, who were legit blue chips. Frank and Bronson became better than expected. With the one and done, it's just going to be too hard to get back there. Yep. That's kind of my feelings for a game wise, that was one of my biggest heartbreaks. Was I down after that one. Looks like a lot of you picking that one there too. All right, we'll get back to those coming up here in just a little bit. Changing it up here, not to get all sad and depressed or anything like that and conjuring up bad memories, but changing it up here a little bit for good old Valentine's Day. We've got another Business of Sports coming up in about an hour, brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We're going to hit that up and probably take a look at some of you, actually quite a few of you, I was surprised with this pick. Bringing up Tiger Woods, we're going to hit up Tiger Woods in our Business of Sports segment coming up at 8:05. Dude's got a new logo, got a new swag line over there, in case you haven't heard. So we'll talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. We got some Hoops Chat. Badgers with a much-needed win last night over Ohio State to end their 4-game losing streak. Just 6 more left to go in the regular season. Marquette also picking up a win, and the Bucks falling last night, but the Timberwolves did pick up a win. We'll finish up the first hour with Morgs. Good morning, Morgs.
Hey, good morning. Not a Valentine's Day guy. No surprise there. Any plans though?
No.
Not a one?
No.
For maybe your wife?
No.
Okay. Lucky lady.
She's in the same boat.
So
we don't celebrate fake stuff.
Does she have a sports crush?
It was Clay Matthews.
Oh, yeah. I can feel that one. That was a good one, too.
Yeah.
Donald Driver, because he always looked like he was having fun there to play.
Yep.
$1 million smile.
She really loves Jordan Love now, and what set that apart was the story that when he helped a girl try to push her car out of a snowbank.
Right? I'm totally with V on this one. That story made me think he was the best.
Yeah, her response was, Aaron would never do that.
Well, see, I love me some JJ Watt too, though.
Yeah.
I like that kind of, like, he had that kind of good old boy, fun, philanthropic.
Really throwing back to the boy band with his hair look on the Super Bowl. Did you see that?
Aside from that, yeah. But Clay Matthews is a good pick too. But I totally agree with V. There's no way that Rodgers would have come up on somebody in distress. He probably would have maybe like checked his own self out in a rearview mirror and said, "Have fun with that," and like wiped his hands and walked away. Yeah. He's a little bit of a drama bomb. But yeah, that was good. I think Love stepping in to do that boosted him way off the game field for a lot of people. Just decent human being type stuff makes it easy to crush on someone like that.
Yep.
So we'll do a little bit of Valentine's Day trivia just to kind of get you in the mood of the day. Maybe by the end of the day, you'll be ready to spread some love around, right?
No.
Hey, does Hudsey still do they do Valentine cards still in school? So they're having like a little party today?
Yes, he's doing it today. His Valentines were paper footballs. You build your own paper football.
No way.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Do they get to do candy and do they make boxes anymore? Do you remember making Valentine's boxes?
He did last year. I don't know if they're doing it this year or not.
Do you have one that stands out from your Valentine box memory?
I don't remember ever making one.
You didn't?
I don't remember making one.
Oh man, you would like get the boxes, the construction paper, the glue, go through the house and try to find what you could for glitter, and then probably get yelled at for working with stuff your parents didn't want you to use.
I was the jerk in school that wrote fake love letters from my friends to girls.
I can see that. Yeah.
Really caused some issues for a couple people.
I was going to say that's the opposite of matchmaking today.
Sorry to Newman.
Well, if you were watching a romantic movie and you were meeting at the top of the Empire State Building, what movie would that be?
Sleepless in Seattle.
Hey, see, you know that. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite, like, would be quote unquote called a rom-com or like a romance movie? Something that's not like The Program?
Rocky.
Yeah, that's
Rocky 2.
You, Adrian.
Yeah.
Hey, Rocky and
She's
Adrian.
in a coma for crying out loud.
They had a pretty good thing going. I'll give you that. That squeaks in under the wire under the definition of a love. Yeah, sure.
Speaking of which, did you guys do in school the matchmaker tests?
No.
We had that in high school. You had to take a survey.
Uh-huh.
And then it would tell you who your perfect match is with your classmates.
No way. You're lying.
I am dead serious.
We had to take what was called Kaleidoscope of Careers, where it would match you with your best, like, college courses.
Oh, yeah, we did that. But around Valentine's Day, they always did these it was really awkward.
It is really awkward.
It was kind of awkward.
So who would you have matched with? Not Jake, right? That would have been your buddy Jake probably is the best match.
Exactly.
Oh, that's weird.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning, making the turn on this week. Appreciate you all tuning in. A lot of you chiming in right now with a few questions there about V-Day crushes and all that. Surveyor Sam texting and saying, Mrs. Surveyor says that Jordy Nelson was her biggest crush. She even made the sound as she said his name. I love it, man. I love it. A couple questions we've been throwing out there for you this morning. Who was your, maybe obviously when you were probably a little bit younger, but who was your biggest sports crush? Whose posters did you have up on the walls in your bedrooms? We all did it. If you were a sports fan growing up as a kid, you all had posters or cards that you collected. Who were your sports crushes out there? Keep your thoughts coming, hitting us up with a text. The second part, second question, I should say, what is the biggest maybe heartbreak, sports heartbreak for you? Could be a team, could be a player, could be a game. A lot of you going with the 15 Badgers, also going with a couple NFC Championship games with the Packers falling short. A couple of you going Super Bowl 32. And then the other one, the third and final question we've been kind of throwing out there. What do you think has been the biggest, it kind of transitioned or kind of fell into this question. But what do you think is the biggest Wisconsin sports heartbreak story? A few of you going with the Braves, leaving Milwaukee. You got Favre playing for the Vikings on there too. So what do you think it is? Hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Hey, before we get going here too, want to let you know about something cool. We're partnering up with Mycon Cinemas, with Backyard Dreams and Mycon Cinemas. We've got Spring Kids Movies. Spring Kids Movies. These movies will be at the Mycon Cinemas in the mall. $3 admission, 11 a.m. showtimes. Popcorn just $2, soda just $2. But we got the list. We put it up on our Facebook page. It's also available on our website, sportstalk1051.com, if you just click on the Fan Cave tab over there. But it's going to be starting up right away February 24th, okay? Just for a couple days, February 24th through 25th. The first movie, Surveyor, you're going to appreciate this one. Little Giants, baby. Little Giants, February 24th through the 25th. Again, it's going to be at the Mycon Cinemas in the mall. 11 a.m. showtimes, $3 admission. But we're going to be helping out some local organizations, too. That's the partnering up with Backyard Dreams here. So portions proceeds going to be helping out with that. The other movies on the schedule, you got the OG Bad News Bears, the original with Walter Matthau. Then we've got Kicking and Screaming there with Will Ferrell. Bingo. I'll be honest, I've never heard about that one. Bingo. Field of Dreams coming up March 23rd through the 24th. Perfect time with the opening day. And the iconic classic, another OG original Space Jam, March 30th through the 31st. So again, about a month long, but it kicks off February 24th through the 25th with the cinematic classic, the underdog story, the annexation of Puerto Rico, Little Giants, February 24th through the 25th. All right, Luke, for you, Minnesota sports fan, is your biggest heartbreak the North Stars leaving?
Ooh, gosh. That ranks up there because I was going to say, like, in terms of an actual team. Now I was thinking a season. I was thinking the '98 Vikings are the obvious one, but at least they didn't move. Yeah, probably, which is funny because I'm a Wild fan, but I'm not like living and dying with the Wild. I mean, when it's those are the two that stand out the most. I suppose if it's an overall team thing, it's the North Stars. If it's one particular team, it's the '98.
What about if we switched it when we're looking for the biggest Wisconsin sports one? What if it was just generalized biggest Minnesota sports heartbreak?
Well, then that's '98.
Is it '98? Okay.
Absolutely. That's
over a team leaving?
Yeah, because with the 15-1 team, it felt, I mean, my gosh, the "We're Going to Miami" song was being played on the radio a bunch. Like this team was going to the Super Bowl, and they were gonna see. This is where we have to remember in context. The Broncos were also really, 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 really good that year too. And I still don't think the Vikings would have beaten the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
Probably would have been a better game though, at least.
Oh
than what
yeah,
it was with Atlanta on that. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, what was it? Robert Griffith had gotten injured, so that's probably the biggest reason why the Vikes would have lost. They may have lost anyway, but that really, they were wounded in that NFC Championship game going forward. But that's the team that's the one a lot of people cite. It's the game that shall not be spoken of. That's the only one I refer to that way. It's probably the worst I've ever reacted after a game, just in terms of like full on crying. It was that bad.
I can say I've never cried after a loss.
Yeah, that
only games I've been playing and I've cried after that, but not watched.
Yeah, that's. I think the only 2 times I've cried after a loss, both were Vikings NFC Championship games. That one, and then the Favre one, because again, it was like
you cried in 2009.
After that, and the thing, it's because we came so close, and knowing that team. See, now here's the thing with the 2009 team. That's the one I think would have won the Super Bowl. I think they would have beaten the Colts. Even though they weren't as good of a team in the regular season. And the Saints were, I think the Saints were favored even going. I'm trying to remember like both what were the odds, but also the general thought that the Saints were probably more favored in that game. So, but it was the way that season, all the ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And then in that game, the Vikings are clearly outplaying them, except they screw up here and they screw up here and they screw up here. And then then it ends that way. And I remember I had to shovel after that. And I remember, yeah, I can't remember. It must have been snowing that day, but I had to go out and shovel. And I remember I was so frustrated. I think like I threw I just slammed it down. I'm just like, I can't go through this again as a sports fan. Go through all of that and then, interception. Favre screwed it up. It's like, not again. And that was one of those moments I think that made me realize, okay, you can't put too much into sports.
All right.
I wonder if that's what kind of started me more on this path towards it's not that big of a deal, really. But 98 was the worst.
It was a life-altering moment. It was a life-changing moment.
Potentially. Right. I have to really think about that because maybe not, but as
a couple people are saying, weird. One of my favorite memories was the Vikings losing in 2009. So there you go.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like if you're on the other side of it.
I remember that day perfectly too. I was so happy.
Oh, right. Because you didn't want Brett Favre because the dynamic would have changed so much if Brett Favre leads the Vikings to a Super Bowl. Because that was the fear of Packer fans, right? That Brett Favre was going to do that.
I don't know if it was a fear. I think it was just more of like, it was anger. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, no, we don't want success. We want you to fail miserably like it was in 2010.
Right.
It was just hate.
All of that
straight up hate.
Leaving all of
I
that.
loved the story. I don't know if it was ever true or confirmed, but there was a story after that game. Somebody was at a bar and they noticed, and I don't know if it was, I think it might have been in California. Rodgers was there though too. And I don't know where I read this, but like he was like celebrating and geeked up after that interception too.
Oh, wow.
Which I mean, at that point in time, I could believe that. Yeah. I can believe that. So
it's again, the rivalry but it was more personal, I guess, in that regard too, because of all of that. We
should also fault Adrian Peterson for fumbling. Didn't he have a couple fumbles in that game too?
He fumbled right near the end zone. There was a lot. The 12 men on the field. There were a lot of stupid things they did. If they didn't play that stupid, even with Greg Williams doing, that. Again, ask Brandon Berg for his opinion on Sean Payton. Even without that, I think the Vikings still would have won the game. Mm-hmm. But the Vikings also did a lot of self-inflicted wounds as well. So, but the 2009 season wasn't quite like the 98 season.
Yeah.
Something felt special about that year. So, there was extra heartbreak after that loss. Mm-hmm. So that's the team.
I'm surprised. Where does because you went to it and you froze your little tushy off the missed field goal against Seattle on that one.
Blair Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
literally chip shot. Rob Gronkowski might have made that one.
I saw that. There was a clip of that. I can't remember the context, but they showed it recently, and I was and of course I didn't see the TV broadcast, but in the context of the TV visuals, so you can put it a little bit more compared to other ones, and I'm like, oh man, that really was a chip shot.
Yeah.
That was so. Gosh, how do you miss that? Yeah, and I know whether it's that. Still, how do you miss that? It sucked, but I got over that relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think A, being older, being more mature. B, it was a wild card round game. It's not like that team was not going to go to the Super Bowl anyway. They probably had one more game in them, and that was it. It was more that another loss like this. I was honestly probably most bummed out that they lost on such a cold weather game. Like, that's the kind of game the Vikings
especially when you
win.
have Bud Grant showing up to do the coin toss in a short sleeve shirt, for crying out loud.
Right.
I mean,
all of that should have been like big celebration day, and then the Seahawks win.
mm-hmm.
What? And I know we could go back to the whole like, hey, Cowboys came potentially a Bart Starr slip from winning the Ice Bowl, and then that dynamic changes. But
like Russell
won.
Wilson made a ridiculously stupid throw, I remember, in that game too. Like he was scrambling like 50 yards behind.
I can picture that, yes.
And threw it across the middle, and yeah, he picked up the first or whatever it was. Was it Golden Tate?
Yeah.
Or Baldwin or somebody? So.
I can see it in my mind's eye right now, looking down and going like, there was part of me. See, now there, at least I was old enough to be like, dang, and also, whoa, because you could start to appreciate that stuff a little bit more. So that it's more in the annals of stuff. But I'd put that more in the department of like, let's say, I'm trying to make an analogy to like the recent Packer losses. So like maybe losing to the 49ers at Lambeau a few years ago.
Harbaugh, Hyde could have had an interception if he was 2 inches taller.
One of those where it should have made more sense that the Packers win it, but
although they were 8-7-1 that year.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. But one of those playoff losses, not 2014 level, because that's kind of its own thing. I still think the 2014 loss, and I'm not ragging on the Packers when I say this, I think that loss is underrated in NFL history. Or maybe the Seahawks win, because we always look at it from the Packer loss perspective because of where we are. We don't look at it from the Seahawk win perspective of all the things that had to go right for Seattle. And that is an underrated, And even though, again, Seattle was the favorite in that game, man, a lot
Heavy
of stuff had to break. So you said 2015 Badger hoops.
Yeah.
For yours.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a Packers team that is like the highest ranking one?
I mean, the easy answer would be that one that you mentioned, but I remember watching that game, and I think what annoyed me the most was the but the plethora of people already saying we're going to the Super Bowl. And I remember sitting there scrolling through my Facebook feed and be like, you idiots, like counting the eggs before they hatch. Like I had it in my mind, like, don't jinx it. Not to say that I called it or anything like that, but it annoyed me to see so many people, a 2-possession game, saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm like, no, don't put the egg, don't do that. Don't do that. But I remember watching that game, and I just remember tensing up so much that my neck actually like went out of enjoyment. Like I was clenching my jaw so much. Wow. That one would probably be up there. I was at the 08 NFC Championship game, and I talked about that one. And I was at the top, so you had to walk from all the way from the top to the bottom. The quietest I've ever heard Lambeau walking out of that stadium. You could hear a pin drop between all the snow pants swishing back and forth. And then, I mean, Super Bowl 32 with the heavy favorites in that one. I was a little bit younger, but I still remember that one and really upset after that. So, I mean, comparable to the 15 Badgers, the easy one's going to be NFC Championship game. But, I mean, you're talking about a national championship game, so wouldn't it be Super Bowl 32 a little bit? Because they're both championship games?
Yeah.
Super Bowl and national championship.
Of course, Super Bowl 32, the context is different, and it doesn't.
I almost feel like Kentucky beating Wisconsin in 14 on a last-second shot was almost like the 14 NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Because I feel like Wisconsin would have won a national championship the year prior. Because that was the whole 7 versus 8 seed for the national championship, Kentucky and UConn.
It probably would have been you,
Kevin Ollie. Yeah. Wisconsin would have won a national championship that year.
So in a way, that's to keep with the analogy, the 14 team is kind of almost more like the 09 Vikings, that they weren't as necessarily the best of the bunch, but they had the best path.
And I think a lot of people assumed or felt confident that Green Bay was going to win that Super Bowl against the Patriots because they had beaten the Patriots in the regular season at Lambeau that year.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this before. And I know you have that opinion. I don't know.
I don't know if they would. I don't know. I would have picked Green Bay, but just because they beat them in the regular season, I wouldn't just use that as the main.
Right, I know, but that they seem to be a good enough team. The matchups were good enough, and I think it would have been a great game. I don't really know which way I would have gone on that. It's easy to say, well, Patriots because they ended up winning the game. Well, but because of one play at the very end, come on. It would have been a good game though. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Wow. The Super Bowl 32, I'd be curious to find also like an age grouping on that. You being fairly young at the time. Again,
6th grade.
Yeah. Again, younger losses tend to have more of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like North Stars leaving, 98 NFC Championship game versus later ones that don't seem to mean as much. If an older fan, I mean, not that they're been like, oh, whatever for Super Bowl 32, because losing a Super Bowl sucks no matter what. But it was 1 year after winning a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. You're heavy favorites. You're being told that all week leading up to it.
Yeah.
Double digits.
But then in like historic context, you're like, why would yeah. And you know what? That, correct me if I'm wrong, part of the reason they were such heavy favorites was because of the NFC winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
So like if it
and Denver was a wild card team too, I believe.
Let's see. Yeah, I think they were.
Because they beat Jacksonville in the AFC Championship game. I remember that. Because that was the whole Carolina.
They beat Pittsburgh. No, they beat New England beat Jacksonville
the
year
New
before.
England that beat Jacksonville?
Yes, and then Denver went to Pittsburgh and won the AFC Championship game the following year.
Okay.
But this was not the 98 Denver team that was almost undefeated, like the Vikings and the Broncos had that parallel thing going on all season long. No, Denver, that was not as good of a Denver team. So I see why that was the case, because, I mean, the 97 Packers weren't as good as the 96 Packers, but they're still very good. Mm-hmm. But part of the line had to do with a streak. There was this presumption that the AFC could not win a Super Bowl because they hadn't. At that point, it had been 14 years. So I think it's almost like the home field advantage, like the 3 points you give. There probably was about maybe a 3 or 4 point advantage to the NFC just because it seemed like no matter what, it was like a psychological thing. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah. I don't know. I just remember punching the couch when I was in 6th grade. So, and that was the wooden arm. That hurt.
Yeah.
So,
ouch.
There was nobody had mentioned yet either the Michael Vick in Atlanta coming into Green Bay. It's a heartbreaking one.
The one that are we historically going to put that as the one that broke the Lambeau Field mystique?
Probably, if you really think about it.
Yeah,
because everybody just assumed, cold weather. Green Bay's going to win that one.
Yeah, they never lose at Lambeau Field, and they did.
I blame Mike Sherman and Terry Glenn. That was a Terry Glenn year.
Oh yeah,
remember that
vaguely,
mm-hmm.
but I do.
83.
Yeah.
I believe he won number 83. That was also kind of the emergence of when Donald Driver really started to make a name for himself. I remember that too.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, because Green Bay was 12-4, I think, that year. Yeah, 12-4. So it was a Saturday night game. I remember because I had to work the next morning at 5. But I stayed up for nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I remember watching that game here at the radio station. I had to work that evening on Wax, and we had the TV on in the studio, and I'm watching it like, oh my gosh. Now this is where my sports history thing was just starting to kick in too. We're bigger picture, because there was actually part of me that was bummed out that the Packers are going to lose at Lambeau because, and that sounds like, what, you Viking fan, you're upset about that? Not for the Packers' sake. No, of course I wanted to lose, but I kind of wanted the Lambeau mystique to hold because that's such again, history of football. And the Falcons, a dome team from the South. What? It didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but we've seen plenty of that. I mean, then I saw it in person. What was it, 2 years later when I went to that Super Bowl game in December when Jacksonville came up and beat the Packers. Like, what is going on? So home field advantage just apparently started to mean less and less and less.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to take a quick break. Keep your heartbreaks coming. We'll switch gears up here a little bit and talk some hoops coming up in just a few minutes. Believe it or not, baseball season is around the corner. Some teams, we've got pitchers and catchers reporting today in the next couple days here, which means spring training is also right around the corner. Players getting ready for another long baseball season this summer, but spring training doesn't just have to be for baseball players. It can be for you as well. Are you tired of those aches and pains that you've been holding off on going to see someone for help for? Not anymore. Spring into Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and start your spring training so you're ready for an awesome summer. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, you will receive surpassed care and delivered with compassion and respect. So get ready to get back in the game, people. Make your appointment by visiting cvosm.com to get started. Again, that's cvosm.com to get started. Also, throw out a reminder because, well, we haven't had to say this a whole lot this year, but it sounds like we're going to potentially get some winter weather for starting later today and tomorrow. So if there is any school closings or delays, just a quick reminder, we got the WEAU First Alert school closings on the web, brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. So might be a good idea to tomorrow morning to check sportstalk1051.com. And right on the right-hand side there, you'll see that nice icon there that says First Alert School Closings, brought to you by Hovland's Service Master of Chippewa Valley from WEAU 13 News over there. Again, we haven't had to say that too much this year, but might get a little snow, it sounds like, at least. So
2 to 4, maybe a little more.
Does that rhyme? 2 to 4, maybe a little
I
bit
did
more?
not intend that,
Okay.
but yeah.
Well, they up there. I thought it was like 1 to 3 at first.
Yeah. Well, it's moving on up.
All right. Berkey binder still going to happen, they said. So
Good.
going to be that's still planning. They're going to do the shorter course, it sounds like, but so far so good.
I'll take it.
Thumbs up. Yep.
Take anything you can get at this point.
Exactly. By the way, I was going to change it up today, but I didn't give you a heads up. This will be the last day for stock reports. We're going to switch up a new segment next week.
Oh, wow.
A little, I'm working on a name, but something like university, something. I'm having a little fun with it.
Okay.
We're going to involve some listeners into this.
Stock faller, stock reports.
There you go. Yep,
Pretty
exactly.
much zeroing out.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So, hoops wise, we'll take a break from heartache. But you can keep your picks coming. We'll get back to some more of those coming up in just a little bit. Hoops wise, last night, college basketball, Marquette picked up another win. Got another upset. Syracuse beating number 7 North Carolina. Wisconsin, though, the big one, finally picking up a W, ending that 4-game losing streak with a 62-54 victory. Finally, Stephen Krall looked like what he had been looking like earlier in the season, maybe getting some confidence back with him. He looked like a player that was not playing with confidence in these 4 games prior to that. Storr doing his thing, both Storr and Krall getting doubles to lead Wisconsin to victory. Next up, they're going to be on the 17th as they take on Iowa in Iowa. Just 6 more games left in the regular season. NBA-wise, Bucks not able to get up to a 3-game winning streak in the Doc Rivers era. They fell to the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat last night. But Timberwolves picking up another win on the road. Their West Coast trip going on there with the win against Portland. Both these teams have one more game on Thursday. Timberwolves taking on Portland on Thursday. Bucks taking on Memphis before the All-Star break coming up this weekend. So, big win though for your T-Wolves the other night against the Clippers on the road.
Yeah,
big win.
Defensive, good defensive play, good big play. I can't remember who was saying this, but that when the Timberwolves play with that amount of size, that becomes really tough to defend if they can play well with that amount of size. We've been waiting for that until a lot of the season. We've gotten that with Gobert and Towns. There was a good lockdown late in the game. Yeah, like they are riding their ship some from all of those fourth quarter losses, the fourth quarter blown games. I was joking to my wife when they were playing the Bucks last week, like, oh, great, they're leading by 27. Can they blow this one? And I'm watching as it goes along, like, oh, they're not going to blow this one. They've got this game. But let's see if I can find the status from Krasinski from The Athletic, one of the main beat writer for the Wolves.
While you do that, Josh, who's listening to us on the video stream, we are not getting your texts. So 715-830-1912. So.
Okay. And if I can't find it in like 10 seconds, I'm going to do the approximation version of it. But okay, here we go. There have been 778 instances in NBA history of a team playing consecutive regular season games on the road against teams 15 plus games over 500. The Wolves are the only one ever to win both games by 20 plus points, beating the Thunder and then beating the Clippers. Those are really good wins for all the bad losses that they've had. They've had now, remember one of my earlier knocks I mentioned was that they, so many of these test games, they ended up losing, which like, okay, played close against good teams, but they seem to always lose a lot of those. Well, now they got a couple really big wins. And it's not like, well, the Clippers were doing load management with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. No, I like this was mano a mano, and they won both of them. That one and the Thunder game, annihilating the Bucks. That was, it's good to see the Wolves finally turning around here. I feel better about their prospects. Now, I don't know what was wrong with them. Maybe it was just a collective, we don't know. I can't imagine Monte Morris made that much of a difference at the trade deadline. Maybe. I don't know. Are not to completely go all Bucks, but we can. Are we off the Pat Bev completely changed the team after last night at Miami?
No, not one game.
That's a good change there. I like the Patrick Beverly acquisition. I liked him with the Wolves. I think he's going to do well with the Bucks. But something has gone right over there. And while I wouldn't call them the favorites again to win the NBA Finals, I feel more confident than I did a week ago. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like, though, with this Bucks team now, after this All-Star break coming up here, we got to see this all kind of come together. To quote Lou Brown from Major League, things are starting to come together, Pepper. Maybe we got a little bit of a glimpse of that against the Nuggets. Kind of took a back seat last night against the Heat, but let's start to see it all kind of come together. We're already about 65% of the way through the regular season.
I know. This is getting late.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird to say All-Star break coming up here and you're like almost entering the final quarter of the regular season already. So I feel like after that All-Star break, that's when things this is when you kind of go on your run and start to gain that momentum back before you get to the postseason.
Is Dame Lillard's play legitimately concerning?
I don't know if it's concerning. I would say it's probably disappointing right now. Maybe not living up to the high expectations we placed on it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But
it seemed to be a good amount of Dame criticism after last night. Like, can you make a shot?
Maybe he needs this break. Who knows? I don't know. But he's in the All-Star game, so he's not getting much of a break. So
true, but yeah, again, there's more time to come on this. And it's what I was reminding myself with my Wolves. I would say anyone with their Bucks, give it some time. There is more time to come around.
I think too that one thing that we probably should keep reminding ourselves as Bucks fans. We've won the regular season a couple times and have had early exits in the postseason. So the big part is just let's see how this team does in the postseason. Last year, right? First seed and boop, out first round. Not even close.
Yeah.
Let's have the Spurs mindset. Just get in and see what happens. So
I think so. Yeah. Do that.
Hey, speaking of hoops, a little nostalgia for me last night. Shaq getting his number 32 retired by the Orlando.
Finally did it.
First number for I feel like you and I had a discussion a few months ago that Orlando didn't have a number retired or something like that.
Because when I saw that, I've had a flashback to that. Yes, we did talk about that.
But they had the old Orlando Magic guys out there. Penny was out there. Penny had a blazer. Okay. Had a blazer, and inside the blazer was pictures of him and Shaq during their Orlando Magic days.
Oh my gosh.
Shaq had a sweet retro Magic jacket on. I mean, you had Brian Hill there. You had Donald Royal there, for crying out loud. Dennis Scott was on the call with Shaq. Nick Anderson was there. I mean, it was nostalgia feeling.
You didn't miss the event.
No, it was like, oh, God, I know where you're getting at. But yeah, it was like, oh, man, it was so cool.
Good.
Giving me all the feels, dude.
Good.
Giving me all the feels. But I should have worn my Shaq Magic jersey today. Should have wore it yesterday, actually.
Wouldn't make sense. I mean, I guess you could still wear it tomorrow.
But it was perfect timing, too, because, one of the questions we threw out there, who was like your big crush as a kid, like who did you have the posters up? You know, your favorite athlete. Shaq was my first one.
Yeah.
Shaq was my first one.
I'm looking at that. That is such a gaudy, and I mean that in a good way, such a gaudy jacket.
Which one, Penny or Shaq's?
Shaq.
Okay, yeah.
My gosh. I have yet to find the Penny one.
I retweeted it last night, so you can look it
Okay,
up. Okay,
I will.
But yeah. Next one, they get, I know somebody else wore the number after that. That number 1, you got Penny and T-Mac that wore that number 1. That's gonna be a tough one to retire. But I mean, you had the little Penny era too. maybe you retire the half. Because Penny wore half. Little Penny wore half.
Oh gosh.
Get it?
Yeah.
Maybe you retire the half for Little Penny.
Oh, whatever works, I guess.
I love that era so much. It was so cool. So cool, man.
So Shaq is your number one?
Shaq is my number 1 crush because he was the first one that I was like all in on. He was my first legit jersey. I mean, I made GeoCities fan sites on him, Yahoo fan clubs, when those were a thing. I had a Shaq birthday party. I had when you go to the fair and you pop a balloon with a dart and you got those framed pictures, it was all Shaq. I had the action figures, and then heartbreak, day after my birthday party is when he signed with the Lakers. But yes, Shaq was my first main crush. Then it went to Penny, and it was like the Penny Deanna one. And then once it got to middle school, it kind of transitioned more to Green Bay with Favre and White.
Okay.
Favre what lasted a little bit into the college days. Remember one house we lived out on 8th Street here in Eau Claire. 5 dudes in one house and 1 bathroom. Yeah, you can imagine. But and I was the one who did it. I don't know why I did it. We had a framed 8x10 of Favre outside the bathroom door. Just like it was just there. Nothing else on the wall. Just a framed 8x10 of Favre smiling. So
because why not? I guess.
Yep. Yeah. So
let's see. I haven't had like any real like player crushes. I've always been more of a team person than a player person. I mean, right now, I don't know that I have a favorite athlete really at all. Like anytime I see a question like, who's your favorite athlete? I'm like, I don't really have one. It's definitely teams. But earlier on, I'd say probably either Paul Molitor or Kirby Puckett. Kind of evolved more that way. I don't think there was necessarily any on the NFL side. I don't think it really wasn't too much for, not really too much for basketball, and definitely not for hockey. Definitely no like actual like athlete crush. No, it's never.
I remember as a kid, I was so crushed on like Penny Net. I wanted. Don't laugh. I tell stories on here that my wife doesn't even know, so I embarrass myself more on this than anything. I wanted a haircut with cornrows.
Wow.
I wanted like somehow. I remember telling my grandma, like, Grandma, can you cut my hair to like Penny? You know, like little cornrows and all that on there. I was so into the magic in the 90s. So into Penny and that. So I wanted like a haircut like that. I ended up settling with a bowl cut. So there you go.
Okay. So I'm trying to picture you with cornrows.
Yeah. Like I wanted to be a baller.
Oh, wow.
I was crushing hard, man. I was crushing hard. I remember for the longest time looking through the catalogs before the internet at all those jerseys, and I wanted a Shaq one so bad. And I finally got one as my first one, but didn't last long because then he went to the Lakers. Right. So, but I do know one of my school photos, I was wearing the Shaq jersey. So, of course.
You want to retweet that one? Can you find it somewhere?
I think I got a copy of it. I can do
that.
Yeah.
If this is the time to do it. Mm-hmm. It's the number of retirement. Let's see it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I'll see if I can find the Robert Brooks with the Packers turtleneck one on there too, because you always had to have a turtleneck when you were wearing a jersey.
Right, of course.
Always. And I still wear that turtleneck, and I don't know why it still fits, but it still does. Every hunting season. Yep.
I'm trying to think if I ever wore a turtleneck under my Vikings jersey. I think I did.
You had to.
Right. I think without even really knowing it, like you just do.
It was that style or the windsuits.
Yes.
Bring back windsuits. Please bring back windsuits.
It's time. Yep. Establish it.
I feel weird as a 30, soon to be 38-year-old wearing a windsuit pant, like old school windsuit pants. Swish, swish. I guess it's kind of like snow pants, but whatever. So, all right, Dr. J. We got Dr. J as a pick
Nice.
over there. So,
Quality choice.
Kirby Puckett. I remember sticking my butt out trying to walk like him. Yeah, I feel like, for baseball, for maybe a lot of us who play Little League and such, trying to emulate a stance, a batting stance.
Batting stances.
Mark McGuire, I tried to emulate his stance when I was a kid because that was during the home run era. So he's like, ooh, if he stands like that, I can hit home runs like that. Gary Sheffield was always a popular one when we were growing up as kids because it was like, ooh, going with the bat back and forth.
So like I'm thinking of like the mid 80s Brewers or early 80s Brewers run that like Cecil Cooper with the big lean, like very like kind of low to the ground. Ben Ogilvy with like the chop. If you know Ben Ogilvy's warm up, you're like, and then he's like, oh, it's very rigid. And then of course he bashed the ball.
Yeah, like my era. I mean, if you're going to talk about batting stances and that, it starts and ends with Griffey. Yes. I remember I had I found a hat at a store in Medford. It was, I'll call it the Samuel L. Jackson hat because I can't remember what's that style. You know what I'm talking about, though?
Mm-hmm.
And on the back, it was a fitted one, but on the back, it had the Griffey logo. So I thought I was the coolest kid wearing that one.
This might be a tough question because there's been a lot more uniformity to batting approaches now because, optimizing everything. Analytics. Is there a batting stance you like of anyone right now?
Whew.
I know, that's a tougher one.
I don't know. Freddie Freeman.
Freeman's pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, Ohtani's got a really nice swing, too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more the swing than the
Bronny
stance,
had a sweet swing.
He did.
Bronny did have a sweet swing.
Yeah.
Prince Fielder was just like sheer weight and power behind that thing. So, and then he had like, you knew when he got a hold of one when he was like falling back. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Manny, I remember Manny Ramirez as a kid, or I should say as a kid, college. That was a sweet swing. Yeah. All right. We should talk about golf swings there. Now we're talking, but Ernie Els, the slowest yet most effective golf swing in the world.
Whatever works.
Yep. Let's take a quick break and we'll finish up we got to do a really quick stock reports, okay? Last time. Really quick one. Then we got business and sports coming up just past 8 o'clock. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, really quick, let's do some stock reports. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? We'll start off with you, Luke. Whose stock is rising?
I'm going to go full on my sports geek specialty in logos. Stock rising NFL design folks. You seen the logo for Super Bowl 59 next year?
No.
Just came out, which they usually announce it right about the time.
I saw a headline and saw something about conspiracy with the color, so I ignored it.
Well, see, now I think they found their way around it because, I'll start with this. The colors are pink and green. So unless some team
So New Orleans colors, that fits.
Throws in a pink thing. Or, hey, maybe that means it's the Eagles and the Jets.
Or maybe it means it's a throwback to Super Bowl 31, so it's Packers and Patriots again.
Obviously is what's happening. Well, you remember when speaking of the Packers in the Super Bowl, remember when they beat the Steelers? And that was the first year that the NFL switched to uniform logos. It used to be unique.
Yep.
So you could always have like the one in New Orleans, all the hats that have been around forever with the Mardi Gras thing.
Yep.
And then they went bland, generic with it, which in and of itself, that's not bad. But when you've had unique logos for 44 years, and then it's all LIII, you're like, that's bland. And they gradually added some more color in over the years. And then we got to the imagery in the last few years with the sunset, and that's where the whole conspiracy thing happened. Next year's logo, they went to a New Orleans-based designer who does like French Quarter style designs, very specific looking. And that is, when you see the logo, it's still the same template. So it's LIX, but it screams New Orleans. It's probably had unique logos year in and out. And I'm glad the NFL finally decided to put some personality into it so you can identify it year by year, like Packer fans do with the New Orleans Super Bowl. So good for them for not being all corporate and bland with it. Good move.
All right. I'll go with my stock riser. I kind of talked about him a little bit earlier, but I'm going to go shout out to the Magic. Finally retiring Shaq's. It is kind of weird to see the banner when it raised up. It said 92 to 96, which isn't a very long tenure with Orlando. But I think it's fair to say when Shaq got there, it kind of like the franchise was still fairly new. It was a franchise altering pick to bring Shaq in there. So stock riser there
for sure.
Yeah.
Stock faller, the Phoenix Open.
Waste management.
The Waste Management Phoenix Open. And yeah, the folks involved know that they've already said they're going to do something about it next year. But you could kind of see this coming. It's been building up over time. I kind of knew something was maybe up, not in a really bad sense, but over the weekend, one of my Facebook friends, as far as I know, I don't think this person has any connection to golf, and they don't live anywhere close to Arizona. They were there with their friends. I'm like,
yeah, I know a couple people around here too that went over there.
Yeah, like, whoa, this really is becoming a big deal. Okay, we know it's a big party. We know the reputation's built up, especially in the last 3 years. I would say it's really accelerated. But it's a problem when the golfers are like, oh, this is annoying. We don't like this. When Zach Johnson said we choose to be here, that's both a good thing because we're saying we choose to be part of this big party. We like this. We can also choose to leave, and that would gut the tournament. There will be changes next year. I don't know what. Something's got to be done on that because they're going to lose the draw pretty soon. And I don't know exactly what that is that they have to change, but something will be changed because the Phoenix Open can't continue on this trajectory or it's going to blow itself out because of all of that debauchery. You just can't do too much of that and get in the way of the golfers. They don't want that.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to go with my stock faller. Because we're going to talk about golf and our business of sports here, bringing back the Tiger Woods logo thing. Did you see it, by the way?
I did.
Okay, so we'll get to that for our business of sports.
Yes.
Coming up here in just a little bit. Stock faller, again, I'm going to go to the Super Bowl. I wasn't impressed with the commercial lineup. Nothing stood. I'll be honest with you. I really can't tell you one. That stood out to me. The only one that I can tell you is because it's all over the place is Affleck's Duncan one.
Yeah, that's gotten a good amount of praise. I think it was number 2 on the USA Today ad meter.
Yeah, like nothing stood out to me. So, kind of dull.
I was talking about that with my wife leading up to the game. We're like, no, now that they all come out pretty much, not all of them, because like the Kennedy ad was a surprise. I was like, wait, what? Most of the ads you find out in advance, though. So that takes away some of the part of the charm. Was like, oh, he can't leave. What's coming next? So A, we pretty much B, they're so formulaic, especially this year. And I know there was this whole like, let's not rock the boat with the ads, but But like the whole, let's have at least 2 or 3 celebrities per ad. You almost knew exactly, okay, here's this thing, and this thing's going to happen, and this thing's going to happen. Like, and I've thought that more and more over the past few years. I'm in agreement. Super Bowl ads don't wow me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just don't.
I couldn't even tell you a favorite or anything like that. So I think, and yet still you're got people paying $7 million for it. And now with the most viewers ever, I'm pretty sure that price tag's going to go up.
The thing is, though, I don't know that the NFL can top that. You're going to have like Taylor Swift. And like the only way this could get bigger is if the Chiefs make it back next year and the Cowboys are playing them. Maybe. I think this might be, at least for the next few years, who knows, 10, 15 from down the road. This may be the peak for a while. There was a lot that went into this game to get everybody watching this.
We'll see.
But I was intrigued that the $7 million didn't go up after last year. I would have thought this would have been like an $8 million year, and it wasn't.
We'll see, though. So
maybe that is because people are less interested in the ads.
I don't know.
Maybe. I'm looking at your Penny Hardaway retweet.
Yeah.
Wow, that is.
He needs to put that up on auction and just sell it to me for like $10.
I'm sure he'll do that.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet, though. You want
even the inner lining of the pockets.
Yeah, you want to talk about heartbreak? There's a heartbreak for me. That team not getting a championship together. There you go. That's a heartbreak for me too. On this Valentine's Day, not getting. That's one of the best teams to not have a championship in all sports.
Yeah,
one of the best duos to not have a championship in all sports. This magic moment, 30 for 30. Watch it. Heartbreak City all over.
Who's in the chair? Who's wheeled out in the chair?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I saw that too, and I'm not quite sure. Because they're holding their jersey, so I can't even see the number.
Yeah.
Over there. So.
Yeah, I see people like, hey, who's in the chair? Who's in the chair?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Where's Scott Skiles?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm not even going to wager a guess. I thought of a name, but I don't want to wager a guess just in case it's not that person.
No, do a little looking.
I'll see if I can find out who it is.
Okay.
So, all right. 2 in. We got one more to go. Business and sports coming up next. Third and final hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning. Coming up in just a second here, we'll do another segment of the Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We are looking for your biggest crushes. Who was your favorite athlete you were crushing on as a kid? You had the posters up on your wall in your bedroom. Maybe you had some cards collecting of them. And what was your biggest heartbreak, sports heartbreak? You can let us know via the texting line, that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Quick note here, too, as we mentioned the first hour, but good reminder we had some basketball action on high school level last night here, too, but also some postseason action. Eau Claire Memorial Hockey opened up their playoff run with a 9-0 victory over the Northwest Icemen. North falling to DC Everest 3-2. Wrestling, Menominee advancing to team state for the first time in school history. St. Croix Falls and Cumberland also advancing as a team. St. Croix Falls, though, beat my Medford. So, all right. It's time for another edition of the Business of Sports, brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We highlighted it was about a month ago or so with Tiger switching logos, I believe, or moving on from Nike. And we kind of speculated, would it continue? Would TW, would, new logo and all that? Well, we got our answer. So the other day, Tiger Woods TaylorMade, the golf brand TaylorMade, partnering up to launch Sunday Red. Sunday Red. A new active premium lifestyle brand. Tiger saying it's the right time in my life. It's transitional. I'm no longer a kid anymore. Life changes. I have kids now, and this is an important part of transitioning into this part of my life, to have a product and a brand that I'm proud of. If you haven't seen it, the logo is a tiger with 15 stripes on there. The 15 stripes, one for each major championship Woods has won in his career, which would bug me. And Tiger did answer this question: what happens if he does win another major championship? He said, we'll have to redo the trademark. That would bug me. Like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's even like some of the swag I have in the man cave. If it has dates on there, it bugs me. I don't know why, because I feel like it'd get outdated.
Yeah.
At a certain point. But it is a picture of a tiger, and obviously we know Sunday Red. It's 2 words. Sunday Red, by the way, comes from his iconic red that he would wear on Sundays. His mom would always say that his color red was kind of his color, because his mom's from is Thailand born. Told him red was his power color, so that's why he always wore red on Sundays. So, I'll tell you one thing. I get why the logo is a tiger. I get it. I would have gone a different route, though. It might be copying somebody, but we thought, would he pair up with Jordan? I would have liked the tiger fist pump.
Ooh,
as the logo.
Yeah.
You got the Jumpman Jordan. How about a tiger fist pump outline as the logo?
Oh,
that would have been my choice, but I'm not Tiger. So, and I get people who are like, oh, he's copying his buddy Jordan and all that. I get it. But that to me, they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. If I wasn't a golf fan and I'm walking through a store and I see that logo, I have no idea what that is. You know what I mean?
See, my first thought kind of is, Greg Norman, shark.
Ah, yeah. I didn't think of that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that also doesn't necessarily make me think of Tiger Woods. Like, it kind of does and it doesn't at the same time. I don't really want to knock on the logo, though, either when I say that. But it's not obvious where the fist pump is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a red fist pump, then you really, really, really know.
Right.
There's a very slight irony, too, of him saying, no, I'm not a kid anymore. I grow up. And I've grown up. And then the logo is like a sketch of a tiger, which is probably something like what a 5-year-old would potentially draw. I like the symbolism of the lines.
Yes.
Like, I think it's a clever logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the updating thing, I know we'll know in about 5 years. For
Right.
sure, if that logo is ever going to be updated.
Yeah.
At least. So if you want to hold off on the swag, you don't have to hold off that long. Be real. I do think it's kind of neat that it can be updated that way, But I mean, in a general sense, though, how would you, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the logo?
1 to 10, I'm probably at about a 6.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't really like, ooh, I gotta go buy me a new hat sort of thing. It doesn't get me like that. It doesn't like I want to go buy a new polo to wear that.
So then the question becomes, how many people are going to run out and get Sunday Red?
Boatload.
Yeah.
Boatload will, including because it sounds like too that they're going to come out with footwear too.
Ooh.
With new spikes, golf spikes out there.
So how much Sunday Red are you going to be buying in the next year?
None.
You waiting for the logo to be finalized?
I'm waiting for clearance aisles.
Okay. So are you okay? So are you going to be waiting for, like, because on the one hand you might be like, well, this is really popular, but it's going clearance. Well, if it's really popular, there's nothing going to be clearance, but there's going to be new designs coming out.
Here's my other thing
model.
too, because I have a TW hat. It's very comfortable. It's one of my favorite hats. It's a gray TW hat. I wear it all the time. I wear it golfing. Love it. Love it. The other part why I won't probably get this, and I never say never. You never say, but here's my mindset too, and this plays into this whole marketing business thing. I don't use TaylorMade. I don't have anything that's TaylorMade. I don't use TaylorMade clubs. I don't use TaylorMade golf balls. So part of my mindset's like, call it dumb, call it weird. My wife would in a heartbeat that this is a stupid mindset, but this is how I think. I don't have anything TaylorMade. So I don't want to, like, wearing a TaylorMade hat would be weird for me. Whereas TW and the Nike, it just felt like Nike is more, it's not just a golf thing, right? It's a brand altogether. It's basketball, it's football. To put it in this perspective, Hudson last night asked me if he could get a pair of Nike shoes so he could be like a football player. Wow. That was his thing that came out of his mouth. Like, that's how he resonates. He doesn't know what Nike is other than football players wear it. He sees the symbol. And so it was a really comfortable hat. That's why I got it. But I grew up, which is kind of, I was surprised when we asked, like, who was your big crush as an athlete? We had quite a few people saying Tiger Woods. And I know I've said many times, Tiger Woods was the guy, probably one of the more influential athletes during my childhood because he made golf cool to play. But I have it in my mind, like, okay, it's TaylorMade, but I don't have a TaylorMade driver. I don't have a wedge. I don't have TaylorMade golf. I don't know if I'm going to wear it. When I go out golfing, I almost have to have, like, it's almost like I've got to put together a uniform almost.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, and believe me, my wife will give me a lot of crap because I know I'll say that stuff to her. I've said stuff like that before. It's like the same thing for a jersey. If there's something wrong in a color scheme in a jersey, I won't wear it. I can't. It doesn't make sense to me. So it's got to be as close to the original as possible. I can't do that with this. But that's a credit to the marketing companies out there for doing that.
How significant for those of us that aren't as into, that don't know as much about golf manufacturing, how significant is TaylorMade in golf circles?
It's gotten a lot bigger over the years. Okay. Huge now. Yeah, absolutely. I think I can remember when was it high school? Like was it the TaylorMade M7 drivers? When they started to come out, it's like everybody had to get one of those. It was one of those drivers you can adjust, the weight and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know why it was just, and I think part of it too, again, the era I grew up in was like, no, I want Nike because of Tiger. So I got a Nike driver. And then it kind of transitioned a little bit into, like, friends of mine were hitting Callaways. And I'm like, okay, Callaway. And then, of course, Titleist. When I was really into golf, reading golf magazines and going online, it was like Titleist was all over. I'm like, okay, I'm going to use Titleist because everybody's using Titleist. And that's how now I'm a Callaway and Titleist guy.
Okay.
And it was weird because, too, like, younger. Well, if you want the best wedges, they're Cleveland wedges. So all my wedges are still Cleveland wedges. It's a weird thing, I think, when it comes to golf and brands. It's like you almost got to pick a side. It feels like.
I can see that. Like, there are probably other gear things or whatever. It can be different fields, not even sports. It can be music. It could be cars or whatever. And even though to the average person, there's not going to be much difference between the brands. Like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what it is. If you're in on one thing, it takes a lot to get you off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I kind of get it.
Yeah, like it's, if you're a football fan and you're going to buy a jersey, you're stuck whether it's going to be Nike or before that it was Reebok, right?
Mhm.
You couldn't pick. Golf, it's almost like you're picking a team once you pick the clubs and the golf ball that you're going to be using.
Because it's an individual sport, so you have more choice with that. It's not whatever the league has decided, to a lesser extent what the team has decided.
Mm-hmm.
You have that individuality. Same with tennis. Again, another individual sport.
Mm-hmm. Same with maybe the tennis shoes that you're currently wearing right now. Are you a Nike? Are you a Adidas guy?
Right.
Or gal?
Uh-huh.
That sort of thing.
That gets more individual that way.
Right. And to me, it's like, oh, I'm Team Callaway and Titleist. So last year when I needed a new driver, I strictly looked at one brand. It was Callaway.
Because you know it, you like it, you're comfortable with it. And if there's a subtle difference, but
I'll tell you, if I was back to 13-year-old Dan, I'd probably be looking at TaylorMade because that's what Tiger does.
But you also wouldn't have a life's worth of becoming accustomed to a particular brand, and that's where people do pick up on the subtleties. Again, where an average fan average person does not understand when you're really into something, you can pick up on the differences because you're so familiar. Then nuance stands out a little more, and maybe you don't quite like it. You're like, yeah, this does feel a little different. Now, I suppose if you were given two, like, let's say, generic T-shirts or generic polo shirts, one was a TaylorMade Tiger Woods, and the other one was like a Nike or something. Would you necessarily notice the difference if you didn't have, and if they same color, same
without the logo?
Yeah,
I wouldn't notice the difference. No.
Exactly. That's the thing. With a lot of these things, probably not. Maybe with a club. Do you think you'd pick out different types of golf clubs if they were completely generic looking?
Probably.
But that's because there's a lot more that goes into like the swing and
a lot of it was because I had a couple friends, Callaways, and I was at that point like, okay, I'm gonna get some new ones. Looked them up, started swinging them. Like I like them, and that's the thing too, is like when you commit, because let's face it, golf is freaking expensive. I mean, it's expensive to buy equipment for. So, I mean, it's a commitment. And I feel like it's not like you can just go to the store and just pick out what's on the shelf. If you want to commit to this, you kind of have to do your research a little bit. And so part of it's like, okay, I know this brand worked for me. I'm sticking with that brand now. It's going to be very hard for me to change. And that's me as an adult. Whereas if I was younger and I was a kid, what's my favorite person? What are they playing? That's what I'll play. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
If Tiger started off as TaylorMade when he first started, I probably would be TaylorMade, to be honest with you.
You have a lifetime of associating Tiger Woods and Nike. A lot of us do. So this feels kind of weird. Well, okay. It's like Brett Favre going to the Vikings. Seems kind of strange. Or to the Jets, or Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. They're Packers. So why would you go all in on another? No, this isn't, I mean, in and of itself, it's not inherently bad. It's different. It's not that different, all things considered, but it's not what we're used to. So we're not going to buy into that.
Yeah.
But like you said, a lot of people are going to buy into that. Not to Nike levels, but a lot of people will. That's fine.
Yeah, it was, even like the Titleist ones. I don't know if my coach is listening right now. I know he does sometimes, but like I remember, we'd get on the bus to go into meets and such, and once in a while he'd pass out some Titleist NXT tours or NXT balls, and they'd have Medford on there. It was at that point like I think I might have had a good round or something like that. Nope, I'm that's all I'm shooting now is Titleist. Titleist NXT. To this day, I will still try to shoot a Titleist NXT if I could, because it just the brand awareness for golf. I feel like it's like that compared to any other sport is different.
Yeah,
it's completely different. Like I think TaylorMade is going to make a crap ton of money on this thing.
They will
with Tiger.
Yes,
and I don't think I'm going to get anything. I'll never say never because I'm usually an impulse buyer when one of my favorite things like, oh yeah, I got to get that. Ooh, I used to be that way.
If he wins a major
Well, if he wins the Masters, then I guarantee you I'm probably going to go buy some.
Well, the Masters is a stone cold lock. If he wins any other major, and at this point, probably the Masters is the best one. Yeah, you totally are going to do that. But then it makes sense because he's had an imprint with that.
Right.
There's part of Tiger Woods' golf story is tailor made.
Yeah,
that's going to be weird seeing. Because we're gonna see that this year, right? We're gonna see that Tiger logo.
He's already because the Genesis this weekend he's playing in it.
That's gonna be weird.
And there's already practice rounds and he's wearing it. So I can't think of another athlete like when you think of Jordan, it's been Nike, but then it transitioned to Jumpman, which is still they're partners. Right.
It might be kind of like when Federer went Uniqlo or something like that. You're like, oh, that's a little. Not that I really associated him with one brand or another, but then you start seeing that late career, like, what's that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Absolutely interesting. But yeah, I would put money down on you eventually buying something, and at some point in the future,
one of Tiger's new things.
Yeah.
I will tell you though, if it was his fist pump logo. Yeah, I'd be probably running over to Shields right now.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think I'd probably have to fill in on the rest of the show this morning. But I think you're going to get something regardless of if Tiger Woods may get injured in the practice rounds this week and never play again. I think you still are going to get something at some point. Now, again, that could be 30 years down the road. I think you will at some point.
It's so, I feel... I'm trying to think of another... Jordan's the only one I could think of, but, not just from a club standpoint or a polo or a hat wearing standpoint, I can think of how many people right now, friends, that have a freaking Tiger head cover on their clubs just because of Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
An animal head cover of a tiger on their driver. No reason whatsoever other than Tiger Woods has one. Some form. I had one when I was a kid. I also had the gopher from Caddyshack as one. Now I got Bigfoot as a head cover. But there's still people I still golf with to this day still have a Tiger head cover just because of Tiger Woods had one.
Yeah. And it helps with his name being what it is.
Well, right. But if
it's Eldrick Woods, it's a lot tougher to come up with something like that. Tiger having the nickname helped a lot.
But it's just, I can't think of another... Again, maybe besides Jordan, who, if Tiger had something on his golf bag, people would do it right away. Like, put something on there. Ooh, a head cover of a tiger. Got to go get one. Or a weird badge or something like that. Got to get one. Got to put it on my golf bag too. It's like you're part of a team. It's when you really think about it, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Just it's almost like is it fair to? I don't know if this is a good example, but if you're a huge Packers fan, you're probably gonna have Packers head covers. So if you're a huge Tiger fan, you're gonna have a Tiger head cover,
right,
on there.
Because again, it's a golf thing. So you can, I get that.
You know what's also weird for me when it comes to golf brands? I can't have a Packer thing on there. I do have a Packer head cover. I'll take a step back. I do have a Packer head cover on there now, but previously I would not because it's a different sport. I can't intertwine sports. That's how weird I am.
Really?
And the only reason I have a Packer head cover on there now is because it's a very old club. It's an old 5-wood. It's an old King Cobra, but it never had a head cover on there. But before I settled on finally getting a Packer one just to put it over, I scoured eBay and everything to try to find that same head cover for that club. Just I couldn't find the right one. In fact, I had a generic one on there. I shouldn't say generic. It was an old 3-wood one, but it was a 5-wood, and it bothered me too much, and I took it off. It's stupid. I have a stupid mindset like that.
Yeah, I understand.
I can't hit a Badger golf ball. Doesn't make it. I can't get a. I remember one time they would always have the Titleist baseball hats. So there was like a Titleist Brewer one or a Titleist Badger. I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't know why. I can't intertwine the sports. I'm weird, man.
It's not that weird.
Oh, it's weird.
I mean, it's weird for sure. Average person doesn't understand that, but it's not that weird. There's certain things you can't quite mix. So I get that.
Yeah, it does not. I can't intertwine it. So
put a whole bunch of new Tiger tailor-made logos on head covers at some point in the future.
Right.
I can't rule it out.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it.
Wow. All right. Let's take a break. That's your business and sports.
Oh, by the way, quick
Yeah.
before we go to break, since we're talking about companies and apparel, thoughts on apparently baseball players hating the new baseball jerseys.
Oh, I did not hear this.
Yes, they're. I can't.
Is this a George Costanza where he changed the Yankees uniforms to cotton?
Not that far off, actually,
All right.
because Fanatics has the deal now, or like, well, Nike has it, but then they have like Fanatics, and they have like all new design, and I think it's one of those. It's probably one of those words: 0.34765% easier wicking moisture. Blah blah blah. And now the players are reporting, and I think it was a word that I can't repeat on the radio. They're like, these jerseys suck.
Mm-hmm.
These are the new ones you're going to see across the league this year. Read more into it because I could go all uni geek on this and I could go a half hour into it, but it's one thing for like Jersey folks, like those of us like you're talking about with golf stuff.
Yeah.
Me and uniforms. We can geek out on that all day. And again, most people are like, well, blah, 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 blah. It's another thing when the players are like, the heck are we going to be wearing this year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's anything that can be done, but read into that a little bit more. I wonder if this becomes a bit more of a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of when you started saying it was George Costanza again.
Oh, gosh, anything George Costanza in the Yankees. Gosh, that was great.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was great.
All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more after these quick words. We're always looking to save a little money in our pockets, but we still need our essentials like our grocery items. So, how do you save some money while also getting what you need for your family? Simple. Hy-Vee perks. If you shop at Hy-Vee, you're already getting a great deal on quality items throughout the store, but now you can save some more money with Hy-Vee perks on different items each week. And you can also save some money at the gas pump with your Hy-Vee perks. Who doesn't want to save a little extra money at the gas pump these days? Saving some money is easy if you shop at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. So take advantage of these awesome deals and sales and stop on over at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire today. Or maybe if you're making a little Valentine's Day dinner, you can get your supplies over at Hy-Vee. Catching up on a few texts here. We've got Mark H. My crush was Rich McGeorge, tight end for the Packers. Dan Steve from Eau Claire here. Super Bowl 32 used to be my biggest sports heartbreak. Then came the 14 NFC Championship game. I just walked around my house in stunned silence after the game was over. There have been Super Bowls that I haven't watched over the years because I just didn't care who won, but that was the only time in my life that I didn't watch because it was too painful. Jake from State Farm, golf last summer took over my life. I golfed more last summer than the last 8 years. My third or fourth round, I shot 200 on a back nine and bloomer. Then it was hook, line, and sinker. Had to go once or twice a week. It was like a drug. Plus, the old man bought a cart, and I live a stone's throw from the course on hole 3. Told him he could park it in my garage if I can use it. I thought this was a good comparison here from Josh on the video stream. Said that for me, it was Dale Jr. leaving DEI and leaving Budweiser as a sponsor. And I'm curious for like NASCAR fans too, like how many, for Dale Jr., did you drink Budweiser because Dale Jr., that was his car? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of a similar thing to the whole golf thing for me with Tiger.
Especially when you have a stronger brand connection. And by brand, I really mean a business, an advertiser, sponsor, however you want to term it, connection to an athlete. Like, again, because if you're doing team sports, it's not going to matter as much. NASCAR is different.
Yeah. So, like, if you were a Matt Kenseth fan, did you all right, I got to get DeWalt tools or something?
Right.
That sort of stuff.
I don't know, because I've never really been into racing. I don't have a favorite racer, so I can't relate. I'm curious as well. Like, I suspect it's pretty strong. I think that's the vibe I've been getting. But yeah, I'm curious if it's what I think it is.
Yeah. If you were of age, I should say too, with the Budweiser thing.
Yes,
right?
You don't have to say when
Right.
you were drinking it. Hey, maybe you just had a collection of cans.
Yeah. Or, maybe that's why you chose your favorite racer for maybe the older group is because, hey, I like that beverage, so I'm going to go with that racer.
By the way, shout out on the Rick McGeorge reference. Not many 70s Packers are going to make any list. I'm glad that, look, our formative years are our formative years. And you're going to have whomever, and he's a college football Hall of Famer. He played 9 seasons with the Packers. Nice shout out on that one. I like that.
Your biggest crushes, if you haven't chimed in yet, you can let us know, hitting us up with a text at 715-830-1912. Who would have been your favorite crush as an athlete?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well,
did you have the posters up in your walls like the rest of us?
No, I didn't. I had more space stuff up, honestly. Okay. I've been a space buff my whole life. But I did the pennants, the ones that are in my office right now. Well, you've seen them. And those that haven't, the same pennants that I had up as a kid. And these are like 80s, early 90s era ones. So like original Timberwolves, North Stars, Twins, right after they won the World Series. And a really old school Bucks one. I think that was my first pennant.
Okay.
So with Bango, the original logo. But I didn't have any athletes, and I still don't have like a favorite athlete. Okay, if we're talking posters, again, if you look in my office, there's a Maya Moore one, but that's because I got that when I went to a Lynx game a few years ago, and I think Maya Moore is my all-time favorite WNBA player. So I guess if we're talking like athlete crushes, yeah, because she was so freaking dominant for a dynasty of a team, of my favorite team. So that all syncs up. That's probably why, like, again, I've never really had a hardcore athlete crush because, again, I've been more of a team person than a player person. But Kirby Puckett probably ranks pretty high. Paul Molitor ranks fairly high. 80s era Paul Molitor. Back when I was my formative years of sports. Those are probably the two. I don't know that there's really any others.
I can still remember the posters I had as a kid. Wasn't a lot. I had a few. Shaq. And I also had, like I mentioned, the Fair. Love that game. I mean, so many people could deck out their man caves right now if they'd bring that game back.
Mm-hmm.
Pop in the balloon and you get the framed picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cheap cardboard frame, but glass and then photo behind it. Shaq, I still could picture the Deion Sanders. It was black and white, but he was wearing a Cowboys jersey in that one. Tiger Woods. I had him on there. And I had the poster of when they did the 50th greatest NBA players of all time. There was a poster of the 50 greatest players on there. So now they just did 75 one, so you could tell how old that would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you about this one too, because I looked it up on eBay. The framed photo of Shaq blocking Jordan, and it said confidence on the bottom. Remember, I told you that.
Yes,
I had that one too. So,
yes.
but yeah, those were my. Oh, and I had a Favre one too. So I can still. Plus, I had a bunch of card plaques when card plaques were huge. And I know you can still get them, but they were huge when you were a kid. And I found a picture the other day. It was like a shot of my room, and I could see in the corner my card plaque collection. It was Shaq. It was Ken Griffey Jr. with the card where he's blowing up a big gum bubble. For some reason, I had a Cowboys one, and for some reason, I had a Jordan wearing a 45 one. Don't remember why I got those. I might have been one of those like, hey, I just want something, so I'll pick that out, sort of thing. But yeah,
this could make its own show. Best poster of all time.
Best poster or most iconic?
I kind of.
Are we talking like personal or?
I probably most iconic. So
So I actually have it as a canvas print now in my man cave. But when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the Jordan wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
So I have it in a canvas print now, not the poster. But I remember I think it was my 5th grade teacher. She was a huge, Mrs. Coyle, was a huge Bulls fan. So she had a Jordan and a Rodman poster up in her classroom. I think she had that one up in the classroom too. But that's one I can picture.
So that's where the Maya Moore one came from, because my Maya Moore one is the wingspan.
Okay.
So it's the WNBA version of that, and that's in my office right now. Interesting choice, because I'd never put 2 and 2 together on that before.
Mm-hmm. That's the first one that came to my mind. Is that one? And I'm sure there's other people, other ones out there that they're thinking, but that's when I think of posters, iconic posters. That's the one. Because I always wanted that. After I started to get over my, Jordan jealousy because he beat my teams, and I started to really like Jordan. I'm like, oh, I would always love the wingspan poster. Then one day I found it in a canvas print, and I'm like, got to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first one that popped into my head. Isn't there the Bo Jackson one where he's got like the shoulder pads and a baseball bat?
Yes, that is a classic one. Does it have to be a pose for the poster, or could it be a poster of an action shot?
I think it could be an action shot.
Yeah.
So we used to have it in the studio here. I don't know if I'd consider it a poster, but it was in a frame. Ali, was it over? Was it the May fight? Who's he standing over? You know what
I can't remember who, but yes, that was in the studio for the longest time, and that is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talk about, again, a specimen, because that's up there so many times. You look at it and eventually you start analyzing like the muscles. You start to notice that stuff. You're like, dang, he was fit.
Mm-hmm.
You see why Ali was. That's one part of the many reasons why Ali was so good.
Yeah. So,
gosh.
Then I mean, the Jordan flying through the air one. That's one there too. But are posters still a thing for kids?
I don't know.
Hudson's got a few, but
folks who have kids, is that still a thing?
Yeah, he's got a few up in his room, but I remember going through and just trying to find the sports ones all the time. He's got posters. This was what he wanted. The posters of every sports league with all the teams on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's got. Mixed in with a couple other ones, but those were the main ones he wants. So like Major League Baseball, he's got all the teams on there, so he can look at it and figure out, oh, so and so's in that division and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, Big Spence on the texting line. On your NASCAR topic, my brother is about as diehard of a NASCAR fan as you will find. Literally to the point of he's designed multiple paint schemes on the NASCAR circuit, but he used to work at a hardware store. And when people would come in asking for help finding something, he would go as far as only recommending brands that sponsor race teams and cars.
Wow.
So how about that?
That's commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Huh.
Heck, I will even go down to this level. Now that Spence brought that up, there was a point in time when fishing was my life. Bass fishing was my life, okay? Loved it. Bill Dance is still a fishing god, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Loved Bill Dance. Going fishing with Bill Dance. I mean, come on, the Tennessee hat and everything. I can still play the theme song in my head. I would only use lures. I shouldn't say only. I would want to only use lures Bill Dance used. Excalibur lures, the spitting image and the swimming image. Any diehard fisherman probably like, oh yeah. Terminator spin baits. Yeah. Brand. I mean, because that was a brand thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a quantum reel and rod because that's what Bill Dance, Quantum sponsored Bill Dance. Excalibur spitting image and swimming image. They sponsored Bill Dance. I think it's Head and Heaton now that does it.
Mm-hmm.
Stern line. Oh, that's what Bill Dance uses. I'll get me some 8-pound, 10-pound stern line because that's what Bill Dance used. It goes down even in the fishing circuit, man. Because you go to a bait shop and you see all those. Is there really that much of a difference between all of those? That jig compared to that jig? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Dance though used it, so Bill Dance is my dude. So I'll pay the extra $2 for it.
Bill Dance Outdoors.
Yeah, he's still kicking.
He's 83.
He's still kicking though, man.
Yeah.
He's got some good blooper videos out there. Should YouTube them for anybody out there.
Yeah.
Oh, my Saturday mornings on TNN was Bill Dance and Realtree and
TNN. Nice.
Yeah. Saturday morning outdoors programming. Bushnell's Secrets of the Hunt with Dave Watson. See, I remember stupid crap like this.
Can I find the intro?
For,
the bloopers come up really fast.
For Bill Dance?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could probably sing along to that thing.
Oh, yeah.
When the sun's coming over the treetops. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Sunrise.
Yep.
TNN logo.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Told you. Yeah. It'll be a beautiful day, just waiting to see.
This is a fish going across the screen.
Around at all. Don't even bother to call.
Eagle.
Yeah. Golly. Bill Dance was the man.
Bill Dance Outdoors, sponsored by Walmart.
There we go. Nice.
Yep.
With the floating volunteers logo.
Yeah.
That's the best. I love this.
Bill Dance was the dude, is still the dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember as a kid would I'd scroll through a Bass Pro catalog and be like, just circle everything. Oh, there it is. That's what Bill uses. I saw him using that on last Saturday morning show. So I got to use that. We'll go buy that and head on over to Miller Dam and try to catch my 1 pound bass over there or something, because it wasn't as big as Bill would catch, but yeah. So
hey, you aspire.
Mhm.
You aspire. And
same for hunting though too. It was, I want a Matthews bow. Matthews made in Wisconsin, but hey, that's why I saw my favorite hunter using it, so I want a Matthews bow.
Yeah.
It's not just, it goes down all different levels. So
interesting you mentioned Miller Dam. I see that the sign whenever I'm driving up to my wife's family in Jump River and driving north on 73, there's always that Miller Dam Park sign right over there. But I've never taken the turn to go
G.
over there. Yeah.
That'd be G off of 73 over there, or M, I guess you could go to, but G is the little curve, and then you go right, split it down the middle.
Yeah, because I'm Google mapping it right now, looking at the satellite, and looks really nice.
It's over the years, it's kind of been taken over by some rice and weeds on big portions of it, but yeah,
still worth it.
Oh yeah, that's where I always go when I go back that direction. So.
Live out the Bill Dance dream a little bit.
Oh, dude, I was such a diehard. I kept a journal. I kept a journal of conditions, time of day, lure, depth, water clarity. Yeah, in a little freaking notebook. I wish I still had that. I did. Oh yeah. I thought I was going to have my own fishing show. I thought I was going to make my own fishing lures. Yeah. Die hard, man.
By the way, speaking of apparently Wally Smith, a fellow diehard, because I did I'm just doing the Google Street View right now to like, okay, so what's the ground angle? And when I start to drag the little dude over to find a road, someone, apparently Wally Smith, did a whole lot of photos right by the dam and right by the dock and everything, and posted them all on there. Like there's all these blue dots everywhere. It's all by Wally Smith. Like you could see the whole thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So if anyone want to experience the fishing experience like that, you can do a preview of that.
That Bill Dance song is gonna be in my head all day now.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I'm not a fan of the Luke Bryan Bill Dance song. I know Luke Bryan did one a couple years ago.
I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah, he did one. I'm not a fan of it, but give me the old school stuff.
Well, the original's the original.
Well, no, like he wrote a song called
about that, so it's not like
he wrote a song about Bill Dance.
Right.
Yeah. So
which I guess makes sense. He's influential, so I get that. But yeah, the theme's the theme.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best.
That's when like hunting shows and fishing shows were just like
that 90s era ones. Yep.
TNN, man.
The Nashville Network back when it was the Nashville Network.
Yes. Saturday mornings, I'd be at my grandma's and I'd watch hunting and fishing shows until they went to like I think it was like they fixed cars. Can't remember that show, but that was like the end of it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. We got to take a break. Bill Jordan, Real Tree Outdoors. Yep. Real Tree. Are you a Real Tree or Mossy Oak one? Hunters probably know that one. So, all right. Last break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I just went down a rabbit hole on YouTube to try to find Bill Dance fishing with a spitting image. And you got to get the spitting image. It actually had his signature on it, too. I forgot about that.
Really?
Had his signature on it. So those are the ones I had.
Nice. I see. Oh.
Right?
Wow.
His iconic signature on there. I was so gullible as a kid. It's a great lure, though. I caught my biggest bass with his swimming image. So
Now, there you go.
spitting image, whenever I figured out to finally do it right with the walk the dog retrieve, a little dust, calm, cool water surface on top, action on top. Oh, yeah, love those lures.
Yeah, it worked.
Rick still have some. So, but good old days. I did want the Tennessee hat too as a kid, but Medford, they don't really have Tennessee trucker hats just sitting on the shelf at Kmart over there. So
A little couldn't quite go on Amazon and quick get it.
no, you really couldn't. So yeah. I'm going through the lineup in my head now with all. Oh, I mean, Mossy Oak had a theme song too, Luke. It was Tracy Bird sang it. Was it Tracy Bird or Tracy Lawrence? One of those two.
There's a lot of Tracy's in country.
Yeah.
And I know which both of these.
Yeah.
No, I know both. So what was the name of it again? I'm gonna do a quick.
It was like the Mossy Oak theme song. What was it? I used to have it downloaded.
Mossy Oak song, and there's Mossy Oak song Tracy Bird as well.
Tracy Bird. Okay, that's the one.
Tracy Bird.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You got to
we
play
have
that
this?
one up here quick before we do some picks.
I think I got. Should we do the Tracy Bird version of that or
Tracy Bird.
All right, here we go.
It's the Tracy Bird.
Tracy Bird here.
Yeah.
I say that because
Verbo is
that's
for
how Tracy
sharing all
Bird
kinds
talks.
of
I've
moments.
heard him.
With the ad playing too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay, go to Verbo. Cool. We're all on board. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Wait for it.
Yeah, now we're talking. This is what it is. Yeah.
This is uploaded 14 years ago, by the way.
Mossy Oak swap bottoms do drop fall in. Yeah.
Mossy Oak swamp bottom do drop.
Told you.
Yeah. This goes on for like 3 minutes.
Answering a hoot owl's cone. Yeah. Nothing like the sound when the day breaks. Me and Daddy in the woods on a set. Okay, you can shut it off now. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. See,
That's
I
the
still
most
remember
singing
the
I've heard
memories.
from you ever.
I still remember the words, dude.
Nice.
I loved those shows as a kid.
Oh boy.
God.
Oh boy.
Man, I wanted to be a professional hunter and fisher and have my own show. God,
Still
I wanted to do
could.
that.
There's a
I
long
wanna
ways
do
to go.
that. So I don't have time to be that dedicated anymore. I thought I could be, but gosh.
Let's do something on TikTok.
See, if we could get an intro song like Tracy Bird's or Bill Dance's, I would be in high heaven right now.
Ooh. Okay.
Somebody got
musicians.
a little acoustic guitar that could strum something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
No. Yeah. Oh man. To be young again. Oh yeah. Okay, let's do some picks here.
Okay.
Should we do some basketball
Let's.
picks, NBA picks, and switch it up and be like, you guys got to stop talking about TNN, the national network. Back in the day, I could still picture that logo too. It always bugged me because there was 4 squares and only 3 of them were filled. Right? That's the logo, right? TNN, and
Yes.
the bottom left was always empty.
Well, because wouldn't they have like a guitar in that?
Or
Because the
maybe.
National Network.
Yeah, but there was 4 square, and yeah, never mind. I'm going way off in that track here. NBA schedule. So we don't have the Timberwolves or the Bucks in action tonight. So let's go. Actually, this one might be a decent one considering Joel Embiid's not playing. Heat taking on the 76ers at home. 76ers favored by 3.5. By the way, picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. And since we were just talking about NASCAR as well, for any NASCAR fans, really quick, if you want to head on down to the Elbow Room for NASCAR season, they're doing a picks thing. So NASCAR fans can come on down to the Elbow Room. They do weekly picks over there, starting with Daytona this week. So head on over there to the Elbow Room right next to the Banbury Place. A few of you chiming in, that's your NASCAR fans. Okay.
Cool.
Sixers or the Heat?
I made a big mistake last week with the Sixers. I'll go 76ers. I'll go with the line 3.5.
Yeah, I'll go with the 76ers on this one. I think the Heat, nice win for them last night. Hot shooting, especially from 3. They cool down a little bit, and I'll go with the Sixers over with this one. How about Clippers at the Golden State Warriors? I don't know if you saw this morning. The Warriors inquired about acquiring LeBron James, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. So much so that Buss and the Lakers went to LeBron's camp to see if that's something he wanted, and apparently LeBron's camp said no.
Gosh, it would have been insufferable.
Steph Curry and LeBron together, yeah, that would have been
Wow.
unbearable.
Well, there is one more insufferable thing if Curry had gone to
The Lakers. Yeah.
Oh, it didn't happen, thankfully. Golden State's hot.
Mm-hmm.
They're back in this thing.
Golden State's favored by 3.5.
Yeah, they're playing really well. I'm gonna ride the hot hand.
Okay.
Warriors.
I'm gonna go with the Clippers in this one, bounce back game.
I don't feel great about it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll ride with the Clippers on this one. And then should we do one more here?
Knicks Magic?
It's
kind of a sneaky good matchup right now.
We can do that one, and then Kings at Denver too.
Yeah.
So let's do the Knicks at Magic here. Knicks playing really good too.
Gosh,
so.
they are. Although Orlando's the favorite, I'll take the Knicks.
I'm gonna take the Knicks too, as much as that pains me to say that. So, and then we've got the Kings at the Nuggets. Nuggets favored by 4.5.
Yeah. Sacktown doing better of late, but I'll go with Denver.
Denver's 21-4 at home. I'm going to take Denver in this one.
This is the thing.
Yeah. There's your picks and predicts, again, brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. So, all right. When we spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes talking about TNN and Bill Dance, it's a good day. It's a good day. That just made my day.
Yeah.
I'm not a Valentine's Day kind of guy, but that just made my day.
You found something you love on Valentine's Day.
Bill Dance.
There we go.
Bill Dance.
Whatever makes you happy.
Wonder how much a Bill Dance autograph costs these days. I might have to add one to the man cave. You gonna Google it here quick for me for the
Bill
next
Dance autograph? BillDanceStore.com. You can get a Bill Dance teacup autographs upon request. It's sold out.
What?
But if you go to eBay, Bill Dance autograph for sale, you could get a Bill Dance 1992-93 Pro League bass card autograph for $67.77 or best offer.
Ooh, that's a little rich for my blood.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's a card, though.
Yeah.
I'll think
there is a Bill Dance Bomber Fat A autograph series pro fishing. Or see, that's one of those. Yeah, it gets a little pricey.
Okay.
But it depends on how.
You know what? I'm just going to let the emotions kind of simmer down here for a little bit so I don't impulse buy and then later regret it.
Yeah, because your Valentine's Day could get a little darker.
Mm-hmm.
Still early enough. There might be some questions later on.
Yeah. When we can sing a little Tracy Bird and Mossy Oak. Oh, I remember the name of the song now. It's called Pass It On.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Bingo.
You should go ask Alex over at Wax if he'll play that today.
Pass it on.
Yeah. Why not?
No.
Who is objecting to that?
No, probably a lot of people.
Maybe.
Or maybe the people who don't want me to sing it anymore.
Also that.
I got a beautiful singing voice. It's like Fergie and Jesus. Anybody who knows that Step Brothers reference. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Have a good rest of your day. No singing tomorrow. We'll be back.